Good morning, everybody. Before we start, I have a few announcements. Living Green Community Garden in Gary is in need of collard, cabbage, or pepper plant donations. Please contact Pete O'Day if you would like to donate. Don't forget our plant sale along with baked goods and crafts is this Friday and Saturday. I will be here, and probably Sandi and a few others, Wednesday and Thursday from 10 to 1 at least, if you want to drop anything off, or you could drop anything off Friday morning or whenever. Brian?
Good morning, friends. I'm here to talk about everyone's favorite subject, our pledge drive. Yeah. All right. See, almost as enthusiastic as we were yesterday protesting. So again, you should have, I'm sorry, I have torn mine off here, apart. In your mail, if you have been a long time member that last year pledged to give 3 years, you got a letter. If you are a new member or didn't pledge last year, you got a letter that's probably worded a little bit differently. And if you're just a friend of the church, you probably got one that was worded a little bit differently too. But I would like to address, what we're looking to do with our pledge drive this year. It's a challenge. Some of you may have some questions. If you have any questions, I ask that you direct those to either myself as head of the finance chair, and Carl Wolf, who's not here today, as our treasurer, and then Tracy, who has been instrumental in helping us pull together not only last year's budget, but he and Carl and I are going to be meeting later this evening to discuss that some more. But we do have some challenges. There's the income side and the expense side. And our expense side, with the new minister coming, Reverend Tom Bozeman, who will be joining us August 1st, is, that's a direction we haven't taken with this church in a while, is having a full-time minister. We're very excited about it, but there comes that expense side tends to get a little bit heavy. So that's why the pledge drive. I just want to read from, there's a membership and recognition, which is usually a reading back and forth, but just pull one part of that out. Blessed are those who support the church and its work by their regular, sustained, and generous giving, and who give them themselves no less than their money. So that is something we're really needing this year. A couple things to note. If you are a pledging member, if you haven't already, please complete your pledge for this year by June 26th. We have a pretty good budget surplus. We hope that's going to help carry us forward into next year. Also, we're asking you to increase your pledge if you're one of those 3-year pledgers. So we have had a generous, anonymous $12,000 matching gift. Already we've had a couple contributions come back or I should say pledges come back for this year. One with an additional gift for 3 years of $13,000. Another one of additional gift of $1,700. So we're already well on our way to our $24,000 goal just for that matching gift. For those who are non-pledgers, we're asked now is if you've had a reason in the past where you haven't pledged, please do so now, because we need to be able to plan and project where we're going to be over the next 3 years with Tom. Please consider increasing your pledge. Any gift above what you committed to last year will go towards this matching gift. And we're also asking, if you did a 3-year last year, to consider extending that 1 more year to hopefully cover the whole time that Tom will be here and beyond. So, I just put my pledge in this morning, so, and we've got a few others in. The sooner we get those back, the sooner we can kind of finalize and provide. We want to be able to provide as accurate information as possible when we have the annual meeting, and I think that will do it for now. Again, you got any questions? Looks like I'm the finance guy here today, but please feel free to ask. I'm going to leave this up here just as a gentle reminder. It's right in there. Thank you. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Brian. Okay, welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart. My name is Barb Langle. I participate in the life of the church by serving on the board, among other things. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles, both of which can be found online at uua.org. Together we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. We are pleased to announce that Reverend Tom Bozeman has been called to be our full-time minister starting August 1st. Yay! Our search committee worked hard over the past few years to find someone who will bring great strengths of kindness, compassion, and understanding to our congregation. He is a listener, a deep thinker, with a wonderful sense of humor. We look forward to him becoming a vital part of our church community. But until Pastor Tom joins us, we invite members or guests to share a special message with us. This morning we will have our annual flower communion. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Please join me in lighting the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you. I was trying to find some special opening words for this special day, and after looking through about 30 books of poetry, I found myself going back to my old favorite, Mary Oliver, for her poem, Goldenrod. You know, that stuff that is a menace and a nuisance and makes people sneeze. She has a different take. On roadsides, in fall fields, in rumpy bunches, saffron and orange and pale gold, in little towers, soft as mash, sneeze bringers and seed bearers, full of beads and yellow beads and perfect flowerlets and orange butterflies. I don't suppose much notice comes of it except for honey and how it heartens the heart with its blank blaze. I don't suppose anything loves it except perhaps the rocky voids filled by its dumb dazzle. For myself, I was just passing by when the wind flared and the blossoms rustled and the glittering pandemonium leaned on me. I was just minding my own business when I found myself on their straw hillsides, citron and butter-colored, and was happy. And why not? Are not the difficult labors of our lives full of dark hours? And what has consciousness come to anyway so far that is better than these light-filled bodies? All day on their airy back bones. They toss in the wind. They bend as though it was natural and godly to bend. They rise in a stiff sweetness, in the pure peace of giving one's gold away. Please join me in the opening hymn and stand as you are able. Number 38, Morning Has Broken. And we don't have Maggie here, so sing loud and strong. Of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And this is the time during our service where we greet our neighbors. So please take a moment to say hello to your surrounding people. We pause, listening to what arises from within our hearts. We will not pass the microphone, so please speak loudly. If you cannot hear, please raise your hands and I will repeat as best I can what has been said. Are there any joys or sorrows? Connie. It's a story that I really, really love. This book is almost 50 years old. My children loved it. It's based on a true story. It's Miss Rumphius with stories and pictures by Barbara Cooney. The Lupine Lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupine Lady is little and old, but she's not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of all of the tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving Indians out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. Yes? Oh, yes, short people. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "Oh, that is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon, she was grown up. Then my great-aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked on long beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day she met the Bapa Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bapa Raja's wife. The Bapa Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, the Bapa Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." "You will always remain in mine, too," said Miss Rumphius. My great-aunt, Miss Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it is time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there's still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what? The world is already pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupines," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I've always loved lupines the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year." But she was not able to. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could walk again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she cried when she got to the top. From there, on the other side of the hill, was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupines. "It was the wind," she said as she knelt in delight. "It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped." Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupine seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupines. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and the back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her anymore at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. The next spring, there were lupines everywhere. Everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. My great Aunt Alice, Miss Rumphius, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year, there are more and more lupines. Now they call her the Lupine Lady. Sometimes, my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupines. When she invites us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there's a third thing you must do. What is that, I ask. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not yet know what that will be. Thank you.
Morning. In the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, in the year 1923, there was a church. But the building did not look much like a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows. It had no organ to make beautiful music. It didn't even have a piano. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone. It had no candles or chalices. It had no flowers. The church did have some things. It had 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor. It had a door and a few windows. It had some wooden chairs, but that was all, plain and simple. Except the church also had people who came to it every Sunday. It had a minister. His name was Norbert Capek. He had been the minister at the Plain and Simple Church for 2 years. Every Sunday, Minister Capek went to church, and he spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quietly and still in those hard wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food. Not even coffee or donuts. Springtime came to the city of Prague, and Norbert Capek went out for a stroll. The rains had come, and the birds were singing, and flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was beautiful. Then an idea came to him, simple and clear, plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in the church to bring a flower or a budding branch or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. What kind, they asked. What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you, choose what you like. And so, on the next Sunday, which was the very first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves, pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all those colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. Minister Capek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. These flowers are like us, he said. Different colors, different shapes, and different sizes. Each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful and important and special in its own way. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves. and then they each chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. And that was all, and it was beautiful, plain and simple as the day. And this is why many of our sibling congregations to this day will enjoy a simply beautiful ritual, bringing a flower and taking a different flower.
Reverend Norbert Capek and his wife, Reverend Maya Capek, who founded the Unitarian Church of Czechoslovakia, created the flower communion, which was first celebrated on June 24, 1923. As he explained in his sermon then, the flowers symbolize the members, each one unique and free, joining together in fellowship and accepting each other regardless of their differences. At the end of the service, each member was to take one flower, just as it comes, without making any distinction where it came from and whom it represents, to confess that we accept each other as brothers and sisters without regard to class, race, or other distinction, acknowledging that everybody as our friend who is human and wants to be good. Subscribing to no theological system, Norbert Capek celebrated the hidden cry for harmony with the infinite in every soul. Every person, he wrote, is an embodiment of God, and in every one of us, God struggles for higher expression. The church's task, he felt, must be to place truth above any tradition, spirit above any scripture, freedom above authority, and progress above all reaction. Capek believed that a truly religious person should have the ability to have faith and confidence, the ability to hope, the feeling of worship, charity, or selfless love and conscientiousness. It would be these beliefs and practices that would draw over 3,000 free-thinking Unitarians, Catholics, Protestants, and Jews to his church services in Prague. It was also what ultimately led to his death less than 20 years later. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Capek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human being to be, as Nazi court records show, quote, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live. He was arrested by the Gestapo for listening to foreign broadcasts and accused of high treason. Dr. Capek was sent first to Dachau and later Austria, where he was put to death the next year during a Nazi medical experiment. Surviving fellow prisoners tell in glowing words of the magnificence of Capek's witness to the truths he proclaimed. By what he said and what he was, he fortified and uplifted those among whom he dwelt. As one Catholic priest who was with him bore witness, quote, he achieved his greatest ministry there among the despairing who lived in the very shadow of death. Without him, we could not have endured. This gentleman of courage suffered a cruel death, but his message of human hope, decency, and inclusion lives on through his flower communion, which is widely celebrated today. It is a noble and meaning-filled ritual we are about to recreate. This service includes the original invocation of Dr. Capek to help us remember the principles and dreams for which he died. Let us now celebrate this flower communion and explore what it can teach us about growing spiritually, building community, and living our values. Whenever Dr. Capek conducted his flower communion in Prague, he would say this as he consecrated the flowers, saying, Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world.
It is time now for us to share in the flower communion. I ask that as you each in turn approach the communion vase, you do so quietly and reverently, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. I ask that you select a flower different from the one you brought that particularly appeals to you. As you take your chosen flower, noting its particular shape and beauty, please remember to handle it carefully. It is a gift from nature's bounty brought by someone from this gathering, and therefore deserves your kindest touch. Let us share quietly in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness and love. Everyone is welcome at this table, regardless if you brought a flower or not. I invite you now to come forward and choose your flower. If you are seated in a pew, please join me in listening to Jeremy play the next hymn. Feel free to hum or sing along as the Spirit moves you. Am I doing this part? No.
Thank you, Jeremy. It was lovely. While we all hold the flowers we have chosen, let us listen to and reflect on these words by Thomas Rhodes on the treasures you hold in your hands. Within our hands, we hold the resurrection of the world. Transient and imperfect, these blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often, we seek permanence and perfection, resisting change, blind to our shortcomings. We become caught up in the petty issues and the routine activities of the days of our lives. May these flowers serve as a reminder as they allow themselves to open to the heavens, for despite their imperfections, they have integrity, and though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about the small mishaps, or even for now, the great misfortunes. For the resurrection of the world is at our fingertips. The resurrection lies within us. Let us keep a moment of silent appreciation together. Thank you.
Now is the time in our service for our offering. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred spaces. We give with the faith that together we have enough. We have two offerings. The baskets are for our regular contributions. The cups are for our monthly donations. This month it goes to Big Shoulders. For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are truly grateful. Please join me in singing the closing hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life, Rise as you are willing and able. Spirit
Thank you all for being an integral part of the service this morning. We literally could not have done it without you. Our closing words are from Claire Feingold-Thoren and are entitled, "We Give Thanks for a Bouquet of People." Let us give thanks for a bouquet of people. We give thanks for children. Like tulips and iris, they multiply around us, making the world ever more filled with color, beauty, and new life. May we bless them as they replant themselves even further from us, knowing that they need their own space to grow into. We give thanks for generous friends, as constant in bloom as echinacea, and whose gifts lift up our body and spirit. We give thanks for feisty friends, as indomitable as geraniums, and for continuous friends who, like bittersweet and ivy, hold on and never let go, and can never be gotten rid of. For crotchety friends as prickly as rose bushes, their beauty a secret that is only discovered through careful gardening. For surprising friends who at first glance seem dour and then blossom into joy as quickly as forsythia. For funny friends, silly as snapdragons, and serious friends, complex as chrysanthemums. For comfortable friends, their gentle presence as soothing as the sweet smell of lilacs. For stormy weather friends who stand by us in hard times, like lily of the valley that cannot be deterred by shade or shadow. For old friends nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends coming on as fast as flocks. For friends as unpretentious as dogwood, as persistent as pachysandra, as steadfast as azalea, and who, like snowdrops, can be counted on to see you through the winter and remind you that spring always comes. For loving friends who wind around us like wisteria and embrace us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, for forget-me-not friends, gone but never forgotten. Their beauty lives on in our memories and hearts. For this bouquet of people who brighten our lives, each in their own way, we give thanks.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Need a place to call my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain to the music from the land. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Distracted. Thank you, everybody. Join us back here for coffee hour.